Welcome to a Holy Mess podcast. All right, my friends, we all know life can be so difficult and painful at times, especially when we're carrying grief or loss or wrestling with shame about our past, anxiety about our future, or frankly, like we are just not enough. But there has to be so much more for us. There is hope and joy, peace, love, fun, purpose, and a reason that you, my friend, are on this planet. Let's partner with God so you can be who He created you to be as you wrestle through and trudge through your mess. Hi, I'm Danny, a recovering alcoholic, a mom, a wife, a mentor, and dust. We are only here for a moment. Let's live like it. I'm just like you. I'm a holy mess most days. Actually, every day. Let's have some fun and laugh while trudging through our mess. This stuff doesn't need to be dry and boring. Let's dig in.
Hey, you beautiful humans. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm trying to figure out how to start my greeting because one of my friends said, you always start your podcast with, hey, friends. And I think you guys are my friends. I feel like you're my friends. Anyways, but I guess a lot of podcast hosts start their episodes with, hey, friends. And so I don't know. If you have a better suggestion how I should start my intro, let me know. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm so grateful you're here. If you're watching on YouTube, which most of you are not, because most of you listen to this audibly, but you can just trust me. My hair is done and I got my hair done and I did not go as bleached blonde. As you can tell, I'm actually more natural. I'm letting my hair breathe. So anyways, I know last episode, I teased myself about letting my hair be, it was really frizzy during that episode because I was letting it rest so that I could get my hair done later that day. I didn't want to have product. Anyways, if you know, you know. Okay, so 2 little short stories I want to share with you today and hopefully a life lesson or two. So this morning, we have pest control people that come to our home to help us. We live kind of in a rural. Oh my gosh, I can't say those R's. My speech impediment comes out. See, this is when people don't believe me. I have a speech impediment. There are a few letters that I struggle with, and especially like the Q and the U when I have, anyways, I won't get into my whole speech impediment issue. However, we live in the rural, whatever that word is, you know what I'm talking about, not urban. We live more in a rural area, okay? So we have to have help with little creatures that potentially could be around our house and our whatever, okay? And bug spray and all that stuff. And so anyways, my dear friend came this morning who owns the company, and she was coming to help us with something. Anyways, this has nothing to do other than, oh my gosh, we have 2 Australian Shepherds. Okay, so we have Lulu, who was our first dog. Amazing, beautiful. She's a blue merle, which if you know anything about Aussies, it's kind of like a black and white and a little bit of brown mix with 2 bright blue eyes. Like Lulu is just gorgeous and as sweet as can be. Like if you come to my house, she'll bark at you twice, but she's excited. And then you just kind of rub her back and her butt and she's your best friend. Okay. She's just, especially if we're there. If we're not here, she might bark her head off. Actually, we hear that on the Ring camera. It's hilarious. You would think we have like pit bulls in our house when people come near our house and we're not home because our Ring camera goes off. Anyways, Lulu is the sweetest, most kind, cuddly dog you could ever meet. Coco, on the other hand, our second dog, which, man, I got to tell you, second dogs are not like the first dog, okay? And I don't know if this is preaching to anybody else, but Coco, who is beautiful, she's a brown merle, so she's brown and beige and white, and she has the most beautiful one brown eye and one blue eye, and she is like gorgeous, and she always has her tongue sticking out because she's always like energetic and just huffing and puffing. And anyways, she is, to the 4 of us, she is the sweetest. And to a couple of the kids' friends, she is just so loving and so sweet. And to my parents, she's sweet too and all that. However, if you come to my house and you're wearing a black hat, she will want to eat you. Like she literally wanted to eat my friend today. Okay. And here's what I want to share about this story. Okay. First of all, if you have an aggressive dog, oh my gosh, like get training, right? But it doesn't always work. We've spent more money on training for Coco than we paid for Coco. Okay. But we love her. We're trying to do what's best. And it's so funny because people will say, well, it's really the owners that need the training. And I totally get it. Okay. Like they had to train us how to train her and all the things. But I've got Lulu, who is like the most obedient, awesome dog. If I say come, she comes. She heals. She's phenomenal. She was like the easiest dog to train on the planet. In fact, I joked we should breed and I should be a dog trainer. And Gary's like, oh my gosh, another shiny bauble. Like, no way. This was like 8 years ago because Lulu was such a pleasure. Then we have Coco and we're handed our lunch. Okay. So Coco is just a pain and she's not nice to people and all the things. Okay. So my friend, Emily, who I love and adore, and she's like, Danny, it's really funny because you guys are like so nice at the owners at this house are like so kind and so nice and so inviting. And we have the gift of hospitality. So I love it when people are in my home. But Coco, on the other hand, hates it. And so she's like, man, it just goes to show like, man, you can do all the right things, but maybe your dog is going to go a different direction. And I just thought, you know what? This is like life, whether you have kids or whether you don't, or whether it's your marriage or whether it's your business or whether it is your dogs, like whatever your issue is where you're thinking, man, I've done it all. I've put all the effort in. I've put all the training in. I've prayed about it. I've done all the things. Why is it still so hard? Here's today's little life lesson. Sometimes it's just hard because it's hard. And we can be doing all the right things. And yet, man, things are hard. Seasons are hard. People are hard. Relationships are hard. Dogs are hard. Okay. And I just started thinking about this because I know so many of us carry shame over things not going well in certain areas of our life, whether it be relationships, relational issues, whether it be your relationship with yourself, whether it be like, man, I don't think I'm doing this Christianity thing right. I've been a Christian for a long time and maybe have even led Bible studies. Maybe I'm even a leader. I don't know. I'm just not sure I'm doing this Christianity thing right because I'm not feeling all the freedom or the joy that everybody else is. And here's what I want to say. Sometimes you can do all the right things, quote unquote, and it's still hard. Sometimes you can get all the dog training and spend all the money on all of the things, and your dog is still a mess. Your dog is still an anxious mess. Now, in defense of Coco, let me just say one little thing. About 2 years ago, we took her to a groomer. It was a different groomer. Long story short, she needed a bath and a trim. And the groomer accidentally cut her vulva, actually, which is like, sounds awful. And the groomer was mortified and felt horrible. And just, but since that moment too, Coco doesn't like to be really pet by strangers and all of that, which by the way, who would? I mean, I actually had to take her to the vet to get a chill pill for her when she does get groomed because otherwise she just like growled at people. Well, of course she did because of her experience, right? And so, here's all I want to say. People are the way they are for really good reason. We are the way we are for really good reason, okay? And sometimes when things don't work out, even though we're trying and we're doing all the things that we think will make things better, but yet things just don't seem to be working well, you guys, sometimes you just take a deep breath and you go, okay, adjust. What do I do now, right? We don't just give up. Like I didn't just give up on Coco, right? I didn't just say, well, you're just going to bark at people for the rest of your life. Like, no, we put her in the kennel. We have her on the leash. Like there's things that we've had to do to adjust. Like Kenzie had friends coming over this morning and she's like, can you put the dogs in the kennel? And poor Lulu had to go in there for a second because that's how we kind of comfort Coco for a minute, which is probably some codependent dog issues I've got going on, but whatever. So, and then I let Lulu out because Lulu's friendly and Lulu's nice and all of that. But so we had to adjust, right? And for so long, I was just, okay, no, one more training will work, one more thing. And there is a time to like go after it and fix and work on things. And in life too, relationally, like don't give up on yourself or your relationships or business situations or friendships or church relationships. But at some point too, there's like this sweet surrender point where, okay, it is what it is. And it's so funny. I never record with my dogs outside, very rarely, because they knock at my door. I'm going to go let them in. So hold on a second because they're knocking at my door. Usually they're in the house. Hold on. You want to come in? Okay, well, Lulu came in. I don't know where Coco is. So, but here's what I want to say. Okay, like I said, we don't want to give up, but also at some point, what do I do? How do I live the best I can within this situation, right? Because sometimes we resent so much that things aren't getting better or that things aren't changing or that people aren't changing or that circumstances aren't changing. It's like, okay, take a deep breath. What do I have control of? I have control of how I react and how I respond. And how do I put up boundaries? Like I put up boundaries with Coco. Coco has to be on a leash when someone comes to our house now, or she has to be in the kennel. And then when I let her out, I have to put her on the leash. Like, we've had to adjust our life. And you guys, it is a pain. I'd rather just have 2 friendly, kind dogs, but I don't. Okay. And maybe Coco will mellow with age. She's only 4, but maybe she'll mellow with age and get better. But if she doesn't, I have got to just adjust and figure things out. So that's what I want to just leave you with today, like this short little story. First of all, if you have a pain in the butt dog, I'm so sorry. If you have a sweet dog who is your first dog, man, hold on to that dog and just love it. And if you're like, no, 2 is just really easy, it's not. It's harder. It's harder. Okay. And if you had a sweet experience with your second dog, don't email me and tell me, because I might have some jealousy and a little bit of self-pity. So anyways, no, but I love Coco. She's like the best. She's so sweet when it's just the 4 of us. Okay. But here's what I want to say. What things in your life have you been wrestling with and struggling with and trying to do all the things and all of the things, and continue to do that? Like, I'm going to continue to work with Coco. Okay. But I've also at the same time had to surrender and adjust, right? Because when I wasn't surrendering and adjusting, I was just getting bitter and resentful that she was barking at people and that she was growling at people. And I would just yell at her, right? And that doesn't help, because when you yell at a dog, they think you're barking with them. Like, okay, so that doesn't help either. So what I've had to do is just adjust. Okay, so I'm adjusting to Coco to make it a more livable situation. So I know how to do this. And for some of us, that's the same thing. It's like, God forbid, but like if your spouse is an alcoholic, okay, if they don't get help, you adjust and you put up boundaries and you take care of yourself. And maybe you go to Al-Anon and maybe you get into therapy and all of the things, like, so you can figure out and heal with how to live in the situation. If your kid is off the rails, or someone that you love, a brother or a sister or a parent is off the rails, do all you can within yourself and within healthy boundaries to quote unquote help, right? But at some point, okay, it is what it is, and they're not changing anytime quickly, and I don't want to be a part of the problem, and I don't want to enable. So what do? You take care of yourself, and you get reflective, and you bring someone safe in to work with you and walk with you. And sometimes it's a therapist, and sometimes it's a good friend, and sometimes it's a pastor, and sometimes it's a life coach. Like, figure that out. But as you learn to adjust, and as we learn to adjust to the different difficult situations in our life, we learn, yes, we still have to put some work in, but we really actively surrender. And that's part of like actively surrendering to the situation with the Lord. And I don't mean like surrender in that like surrender and give up. And I mean like a healthy, holy surrender. I believe the holiest of surrenders is actually a leaning in. It's like, okay, Lord, what are you going to do? How are we going to do this? What's the best thing that I can do for myself, for my family, for the people in my life? How can I adjust and so that I can make the situation more livable? Because if we just resent the situation, or we just resent the circumstance, and we just blame, man, you guys, we have no power in that. Like, we take our power away. We get cut off at the knees. We feel like a victim. We feel hurt. And trust me, some of us are in situations where we're being victimized, where it's really hard and all of that. But one of my jobs and one of my passions is to help people not live under the umbrella of victimhood, right? We've all been victimized. I say this all the time in my programs, when I coach, in my on my podcast, right? Like, we've all been victimized. The goal is to partner with Jesus to figure out how to not live as a victim, right? I want to live empowered. I want to live surrendered. I want to live leaning in. I want to live learning how to put up boundaries, and when it's healthy to put up boundaries. And, you know, one of the biggest things that I've realized working with a lot of Christians is that Coco's at my door. Hold on. You guys, I'm so sorry. Come on, Coco. Oh, you want Lulu to go outside? Okay. Coco was knocking at the door because she was wanting Lulu outside to play with her. So anyway, see, Coco's like an ornery toddler who wants her way. Okay. And I'm recording, so I'm going to let her have it right now. So here's what I want to say. Within Christianity, I think a lot of us Christians, we struggle with boundaries because we feel guilty. We feel guilty when we put up boundaries. There's a great book called Boundaries by John Townsend. It's a great book. If you are like, I don't even know what a boundary is, I don't even know how to begin to have my own boundaries because I'm just supposed to love everybody and say yes to everybody. Because if someone's asking, it must be God's will for me to say yes to them and all of that. Like I lived in that little, it's a very painful cycle to live into. So as we do this holy and hard work, we can learn what are boundaries, what are healthy boundaries, what are God-given boundaries, right? And we don't want to live all boundaried up and buried up so we don't sacrifice for anybody. But we have to figure out, like, where do I get my agency back? How do I get my voice back in this part? For me, with Coco, how can I live the best I can with Coco? Well, gosh, I've got to do some things. I've got to adjust so that we can have peace in our home. And it takes a little bit extra work, but I'm telling you, our life is so much more peaceful when we do that. And so I want to encourage you, and I want to offer you today just that self-awareness, and to challenge you a little bit to where do you need to kind of look at your life and, yeah, man, hard places, hard people, hard situation, but how can you adjust so that you can be the best version of yourself living in a really uncomfortable situation, so that you're not compromising your values. You're not compromising who you want to be on this planet. You're not compromising the being that God has made you to be. And so whatever that is for you today, I want to just offer you that perspective. It's hard because it's hard. And sometimes we can be doing all the right things and it's still hard. The people in our life still make bad or wrong choices. It's not a reflection of you. That's another thing that a lot of us, especially within Christian culture, right? Proverbs 22:6 says, raise up a child in the way they should go. And when you raise them up right, quote unquote, and then they go off the rails, a lot of us carry shame around that. There are so many people with kids who are making funky choices and people can't even share about it because they feel it's their fault. And they have so much shame around it, you guys. We have shame. We carry shame about our siblings' choices. We carry shame about our parents' choices. We carry shame about sometimes our employees' choices. Like you guys, it's part of human nature. But I got to tell you, I also think it's just a lie of the enemy. And it keeps us in isolation when we're carrying other people's shame for their choices. And so I wanted to just give you permission too, like, as much as I'm embarrassed about Coco being crazy, man, I got to tell you, I have worked my butt off. My family has worked their tails off to try to help this dog. We've spent all the money and all the things and bought all the right treats and all the right collars, and we've tried it all. And I'm open to other suggestions if people have them, but I'm just saying at some point it's like, okay, this is Coco. How are we going to adjust so that she doesn't rule the roost? She doesn't control our emotional state when people come over. We've got to build some things in. And so that's what we've had to do. We've had to put up boundaries with Coco. We've had to learn to take care of ourselves with crazy Coco, right? And to adjust and all of that. And you guys, that's what I want to say to you today. What places do you need to surrender? What places do you need to adjust because of some of the people in your life that are making funky choices that you don't wish they were? And you guys, we don't control other people as much as I wish we did. And oh my gosh, would my life be so much easier if everybody would just listen to me and my family, right? They don't. Everybody's got free will. That's part of their journey. It's part of their life lesson. It's part of their redemption story, if you will. And so it's our job to live out our redemption story. And how do we live as healthy as possible within uncomfortable situations? And yeah, how do we do it? And so that's what I want to leave you with today. So just pause, think about it. Where can you adjust a little bit? Where can you just kind of take off the shame a little bit with people in your life who are making funky choices? And how can you get the help that you need so that you can adjust or put up a boundary or do some self-care or adjust and all of that sort of thing. So anyways, I hope my little story about my pain in the butt, adorable dog Coco, blesses your heart in some way, because I got to tell you, there are just things in our life we can try to do all the right things, and still it's hard, and still it's not perfect, and still it's really frustrating. And I don't want you to carry shame over, like, man, or drive yourself crazy, like shoulda, coulda, woulda, like shoulda, coulda, woulda are prison words. And so, because there's plenty of things where I'm like, man, we should have socialized her more when she was a puppy. She was a COVID dog, right? There's all these things where we coulda, shoulda, woulda done, right? But we didn't. It is what it is. This is what we have now. So how do we move forward? How do we move forward empowered and not just feel victimized by the situation? That's what I want to leave you with today. I hope that blesses you. Let me say a quick prayer for you. And I'm going to go wrestle with my adorable little dogs. It's so funny. They're so cute. They really are cute, though. All right. Oh, Lord, thank you that your grace covers a multitude of sins. Father, I thank you just for Coco and Lulu and the joy that they bring our family, Lord. But also, I thank you for the reminder that even really good things can cause us all a lot of pain and a lot of heartache. And Lord, I just ask you to bless my friend today. Lord, what situation have they just been, quote unquote, doing all the right things, but yet it's still not where they want it to be. And so, Lord, how do they press into surrender, and how do they adjust themselves, Lord, so that they can live more peacefully, with more serenity, God, even with the uncomfortable situation? And Lord, I know sometimes it feels like we're just nailing jello to the wall because some of this stuff is just so hard. And so, Lord, just bless my friend, protect them, and watch over them. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, bless you guys. I'll see you in a couple days.
Hello, my friend. If this episode blessed you, made you laugh, or triggered you, hey, that's growth. Please do me a favor and share this with a friend. And if you feel led, please leave a written review for the show. That really helps us out. Don't forget, you are in good company if you're feeling more broken than you'd like to admit. And you are more loved than you can ever imagine. Have a great week. See you next time.